But a little bit about me. I'm an independent liberty activist. I'm the president of the first and only nonprofit forum to empower grassroots activists with small financial grants. I founded this anti-communism action team in 2013 to counter communist influence at home and abroad. ACAT's Speakers Bureau has presented to the Heritage Foundation, the Leadership Institute, and been on Breitbart TV and Levin TV. I've created so many groups and teams over the last 15 years. I rolled them all up in late 2023 into the American Renaissance Network, which has the goal of taking down the American left through grassroots activism. So, my talk is about the purpose of transgenderism is to usher communism into the United States. And I got to tell you, they're back. The violent transgender activists are back and attacking Tesla dealerships. A transgender was arrested for allegedly vandalizing and throwing Molotov cocktails at a Tesla dealership in Colorado. Another one was arrested for allegedly spray painting anti-Trump and anti-Elon obscenities at a Tesla dealership near Chicago. Now, but why do I say there's a connection between transgenderism and communism? Three reasons. First, from my experience as a courtroom attorney, I can tell you that admissions are the strongest kind of evidence that can be offered in court. It makes the case. An admission is unanswerable. So I have the goods when I say the purpose of transgenderism is to usher communism into the United States, because I'm about to show you a video where transgender activists admit that very same thing. So let me share my screen and get this set up. Okay, so there you have it from the horse's mouth. Now, the second data point I want to cite to you in building my case that the purpose of transgenderism is to usher communism into the United States is what has come to be called Trantifa, or transurrection. Antifa is half communist, half anarchist. That's well established and not disputed, and I don't need to go into it further here now. But you might remember that the death of a transgender activist at Antifa's Cop City protest in Atlanta brought visibility to the fact that militant far-left transgenders and their sympathizers are swelling the ranks of Antifa groups. That protester, a non-binary person who went by the name Tortuguita and used they/it pronouns, was one among many militant transgenders joining forces with Antifa. Other spectacular cases of transgender Antifa activists. A transgender Antifa member was sentenced to 5 years in prison for violently attacking Trump supporters in San Diego. In Seattle, a transgender Antifa activist was dead after shooting a sheriff's deputy. In Colorado Springs, police stopped a plot by a communist transgender to blow up a middle school. Trans Lives Matter activists occupied the rotunda of the Oklahoma State Capitol. They were there to support the mutilating, sex change surgery, and drugs for children, hence the terms Trantifa and transurrection. Now, this has all been studied academically. Experts link transgender ideology to elevated risk of violent radicalization. This ideology creates a paranoid mindset and can lead people to blame others, society for their problems. So that's data point number 2. Data point number 3 in building my case that the purpose of transgenderism is to usher communism into the United States is the Hegelian dialectic. The Communist Manifesto, written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, calls for the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Now, Marx on another occasion said, he was asked, Mr. Marx, what comes next? What comes after everything is destroyed? And he said something to the effect of, don't ask me what comes next. My job is to destroy everything that currently exists. I don't know what comes next. And he had a disciple by the name of Nechayev who wrote something called the Revolutionary Catechism. And the Revolutionary Catechism can be summed up in just 2 words: destroy everything. Operationally, the Hegelian dialectic is the essence of Marxism. It's how you destroy everything. In college, you might have learned the dialectic as thesis, antithesis, or antithesis, and synthesis. An original idea, a counter idea, and a hybrid idea with features of both. The Hegelian dialectic is different. It goes something like this: thesis, antithesis, 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 through as many iterations as it takes until the original idea is completely destroyed. The original idea that there are 2 biological sexes. The counter idea that gender is just a social construct. There are 57 genders. If they can confuse you about whether you are a boy or a girl, they can confuse you about anything. They'll keep going if they're not opposed until the idea of 2 biological sexes is completely destroyed. If you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. So to these people, there is no past, or this is what they want you to think. There is no past. There are no foundational ideas. Everything that matters was invented 5 minutes ago. You are now softened up to accept the rest of their program, socialism progressing to communism. And thus I submit to you that transgenderism is part of how they intend to usher communism into the United States. But don't take my word for it. In the words of one transgender activist, the existence of trans and gender non-conforming people threatens their entire worldview. If gender and sexuality aren't these fixed, unmovable binaries, and if gender roles are constructed and artificial, it kind of threatens the foundations of a lot of other systems and hierarchies typically seen as natural or the way things are. Exactly. That's the Hegelian dialectic in a nutshell. Destroy everything. There are other ties between transgenderism and communism. There's a book called Transgender Marxism, which is a provocative and groundbreaking union of transgender studies and Marxist theory. There is an article, Marxism and Transliberation. The only path forward for transliberation is the abolition of capitalism and the development of socialism. It's time for trans people to acknowledge this, and it's time for Marxists to make it safe for us to organize with them. The Communist Party of the USA, which Paul mentioned in his talk, passed a resolution recently, let's fight for transgender equality. The Democratic Socialists of America published an article, Why Are All My Trans Friends Socialists? The one characteristic I've seen that unites the trans community at large is that they support socialistic policies and politicians, are DSA members, and subscribe to ideologies left of the left. I believe an even greater number of trans people would identify this way if exposed to the message of socialism and shown how much it would benefit them and their community. So I submit to you that I have made my case. I have successfully demonstrated that the purpose of transgenderism is to usher communism into the United States. First, by showing you a video where transgender activists admit as much. Second, by referring to numerous stories in the news about violent transgender Antifa activists. Third, by illustrating how the Hegelian dialectic is being used to destroy foundational ideas using transgenderism as one of its tools. And finally, by listing a book, an article, and statements from the CPUSA and DSA as further ties between transgenderism and communism. I rest my case.